Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stacey Storino, normally from Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill, but today I am here for my own channel, the Stacey Storino channel. Let me just move this a little bit. Woo, that's better. All right. So, had a little technical glitch, but let me know if you can hear me now. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. If you can't, please say something down below. And actually, if you can, please say something down below. I appreciate my students for coming on and giving me the gist. Yes, Andrew George, I can hear you. Hey, Andrew, what's going on? So let me just put down here. This is going to be a very important topic. It's something that quite possibly you hadn't heard of before, either at all, or you didn't know that this was going to be such a big thing today. And man, that sun. I love sunlight, but woo! Thank you, Andrew George. There we go. Okay, so today we are going to talk about something. Hey, Kawaii Cactus, Rebecca. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for letting me know. Thank you. Kawaii Cactus, Rebecca. Make sure you subscribe to these awesome YouTube channels and follow these creators who are also students of mine wherever they may be found on Facebook, Instagram, and so on. Today, we are going to talk about podcast SEO. If you have a podcast already, whether you're watching this live or on the replay or you don't, either way, this should help you because odds are, if you don't have a podcast over the next year, one of your New Year's resolutions for your business, if you can't launch it, before the end of 2019, let me tell you now, you are going to want to have a podcast. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain how you can easily repurpose content that you already have that has audio contained inside of it, even if it's a video, to be able to help you. And hopefully this will help you with your content planning down the road. Hey, Jody Field. Hi, Jody. Thank you for joining us. All right, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you click the big red subscribe button, click on the bell notification alongside that, and select all when subscriber options go on. You can also subscribe to Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill. We have lots of videos on that channel, and that can give you, if you like food, you'll have a fun time anyway. But, with that, because that's what we do, my family business, but it'll also be a good case study for you in terms of what kind of product-related videos that you can put up, the making of certain products, behind the scenes, videos featuring product options, tips videos. I've got to tell you, that can be a really good case study for you. So make sure you subscribe to Joe's and not just this channel. All right. So we're here to talk about podcast SEO today. If you don't know what SEO means, really quick, it's search engine optimization. It's what Google uses when you add in search terms or keywords. Keywords are search terms that help the algorithm or the mathematical computational algebraic formula that sorts and resorts constantly all of the content that's out there on the net that particular browser, your Google Chrome browser, let's just say, combs through and collects. So keywords are important. SEO is important. That's hardly a hot flash from the newsroom. Having a podcast is a very important thing to do as you're going more omni-channel or multimedia, which increasingly is becoming a must if you really want to get traction out there on the internet. So how these two things are now married together as of the summer going into the fall of 2019, podcast SEO really and truly became a thing. So if you were thinking about doing a podcast for your business before, but you hadn't gotten to it yet, podcasts are still on the rise. Podcasts are really starting to put a big hurt on traditional radio and the for-pay like Sirius XM and its competitors kind of streaming. Podcast is really where it's at. And so the folks behind Google aren't stupid. They've gotten around to having SEO really harness and sort podcasts as part of the results that are increasingly showing up when you put keywords or search terms into Google, right? So as of a good year to 2 years ago, it really started to sort video towards the top of search as well. And blogs kind of depending would get booted down a bit in favor of video. But podcasts are so important that Google has really, over the last few weeks and months, made sure that podcast SEO is a thing. So, look, I've got some tips and tricks that will help you take video content that you might have from Facebook or YouTube or on your blog or elsewhere. And you can, depending upon how that content flows, you can either repurpose it in one fell swoop or with a teensy bit of editing, or you can pull it down from an MP4 to MP3 converter. That would say you have a Mac like I do. GarageBand comes with the Mac. You do not need to buy anything to really do this. And there are plenty of free and safe MP4 or video to MP3 or audio converters. So you can get it for free and use things that are on board with your device for free. If you have a PC, lots of folks like Audacity, AUD, let me just put it down here. AUD, wrong device. Try either to edit audio, try GarageBand for Mac, or Audacity, which is like free shareware for PC. Take videos and which are MP4 files and transform them into audio MP3 files easily with MP4 to MP3 converters. And those are free. And especially if you don't have to download the software, which lots of them don't, you just upload your file and poof, it takes it from MP4 to MP3. It strips out. Gosh, the sunlight is just so aggressive today. I feel like a vampire complaining about it. All right, so it's very easy to take that file for free without having to download anything and worry about viruses, and poof, you can get that MP4 or video file to MP3 or audio file and then bring it into GarageBand for a Mac or Audacity on a PC. And you might have to record some additional material to add to or throughout the audio that you stripped from your video, but you can save yourself a lot of time with stuff that you've recorded beforehand to kind of salvage some or all of it to start putting together podcast episodes and upload them to a service like Libsyn. So a lot of other things you can do for free. Audacity's free shareware. GarageBand comes with your Mac or Apple device, so you really shouldn't have to spend any money there. And the converters, like I said, are free online. Libsyn or a paid service will push out your completed podcast onto iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify, all those services that people do tend to source their podcasts from. Now, why it's so important to have a podcast doesn't change. It's just that it becomes increasingly important for you to utilize Google SEO so that you can be found on Google a lot harder and faster than your competitors. And if people are comparing and contrasting your business between tabs, your business with the competitor, if they don't have an omni-channel presence, they're not on multiple platforms on the regular, they don't have a podcast, they don't have video embedded on blogs, on pages in their blog, or they don't have a YouTube channel. Even if all you're doing is providing content to these channels once a week, depending upon your business and what your competitors are doing or not doing right now, that might be all that it takes for you to get ahead of the pack. It is a good start. But what I want you to do to take advantage of podcast SEO, it's very similar to what you have to do to take advantage. Oh my goodness, this is driving me crazy. All this light. Oh my goodness. To take advantage of SEO for podcast itself, just like if you were trying to optimize, say, a blog post or a product listing or something like that to show up better on Google, you do have to determine your focus keyword. What do you want that episode to be found for? Optimize the title and what shows up in the show notes for each individual episode, so that it's more likely going to be found using Google Podcast SEO. You do, of course, like I said, want to optimize the podcast description and the show notes. Metadata is very important. I'll go back and unpack metadata more particularly in other episodes. This is part of a 365-day live stream orbit. So don't worry, we're going to explore all of these things. And with every video, I'll also give you tips and tricks and go back and unpack anything that we introduced today, which is podcast SEO. So you want to use tags. You want to optimize the title. You want to make sure you have that keyword selected. You do want to have a website, and I know that quite a few of my students do. So on that website, you now want to, whether you do it as individual pages or you select post off a WordPress type environment, a blog is never a bad idea. And so this is one easy way to go omni-channel. For every podcast episode that you have a corresponding page or post on your website that's also optimized in its title for that same keyword, that's also optimized in the blog post itself. Then you can embed the player for your podcast. You can definitely get them off Libsyn or whatever podcast publishing service you go with. And they'll usually give you options that you could color the player so that it's in your branded colors if you like. They should have a place for you to embed the logo or the podcast image. So that makes it look really cool and pro too. They'll give you an embed code. And I would personally embed the podcast player for that particular podcast episode towards the top of the blog post. So the blog post might have the hero image up top. It'll have the keyword rich optimized title for the blog post. And then maybe somewhere between the title and the body of your blog, you could have the podcast. So what could the blog post be? You could take the script that this is when you're planning your content moving forward. You could write out a script. I know I do a lot of my YouTube videos on the Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill channel. And for the produced stuff that's coming to this channel over the next few weeks, I use a teleprompter app and send it to my phone. I use my phone to record. I don't use fancy equipment. You don't have to, so don't worry about it. And I use a teleprompter app, so the script gets fed to the teleprompter app. I would then take the script and put it in my blog post. But be careful. You want to differentiate or change the script itself, add more words to it. They used to say 300 to 500 words made up a good blog post. Now longer is better. So I would add to whatever the script was for, say, the YouTube video that you're doing, that you're recording. And it's good to have the script either up front, you read off a teleprompter app, or you could go back and have it transcribed by something like rev.com or a transcription service, or you could just transcribe it yourself if you don't think it's a big deal. When you publish your video to, let's just say, YouTube, and then you upload your transcript to YouTube as well, then you would also take that transcript, copy, paste it into a WordPress blog post. But be careful. I would add more wording. I would change things up, maybe give additional tips and tricks to make it longer and different, because Google does hate duplicate content in terms of text especially. So that's why I'm saying, if you're going to upload the transcript to YouTube, like I definitely do, and you should, because that helps it rank better on YouTube too, you should also, use it as the body or the guts of a blog post. But if you leave it the exact same mirror image or too close, Google goes up. Copy pasting could be plagiarism. I'm going to penalize one or both in rank. Don't do that. Google is the #1 search engine for the English-speaking world, and YouTube is the second largest and most powerful search engine for the English-speaking world. So don't do that. So add to your blog post to make it longer, even just 1 or 2 additional tips, tricks, points, facts, whatever, right? And then embed the podcast player up top. You can literally take the share link for your YouTube video in some of the MP4 to MP3 converters and just pop that in there. They suck out the MP3 or the audio from the MP4 or video, and then you can put that into your GarageBand, that into your Audacity, and edit it out so it's smoother. Maybe you're taking out the YouTube related calls to action, like subscribe to my channel. Maybe that's all you have to do, click the bell notification and stuff like that. And depending upon how you've written or structured your script for the teleprompter app to your phone to shoot the YouTube video in the first place, it might only be like 5 minutes of editing, and voila, you too can, have a piece of content that you can utilize as a blog post, as a YouTube video, as a podcast. And then if you're optimizing each episode and the podcast channel or show properly, just like you can optimize a YouTube channel itself, and then every particular YouTube video that you upload or live stream replay that you leave on, same thing goes for a podcast. Optimize it for search now. Even a year ago, it might not have mattered as much. Now it really does. So goofy titles or ironic titles or things that aren't searchable for a podcast episode is now a bad practice. You want to make sure that your podcast episode can be pulled up in Google, because now it can be pulled up in Google, even if it is on just iTunes or just Spotify or a bunch of places. It now can be sucked up into YouTube search. It is important to have that website to harness traditional Google power, as long as you're making the blog post, like I said, sufficiently different from the script that you say upload to YouTube. So do you see how, at least moving forward, as you create brand new content, you can literally have 3 pieces of content for every one topic or one thing that you might have done in the past. And like I said earlier in this live stream slash replay, you can go back and doctor up old video content too. There might be some reverse engineering to do. Some of you might have an easier job of it than others. You can grab a couple of quick videos and suck it into the MP4 to MP3 converter and play around with it in GarageBand or Audacity, and voila, you have, maybe record a couple of pieces to smooth out the rough spots or add to it so that it's a nice podcast, then upload it and poof, you've got a podcast. Things like this where you get like a 3 for the price of 1 in terms of your content creation is one easy way to go omni-channel. It will involve planning out your content, and that's going to be something that we get into tomorrow when we're on day 7 of the 365-day live stream orbit. And I promise you, I'm going to get some drapes or something, because this is weird. I don't want to have this go on. I've never had this go on before. Oh my goodness, with all the bright light, I feel like a mogwai. Bright light. If you don't know what that is, you're not a child of the 80s and 90s. And that's okay. I apologize. You do want to convert your podcast episodes into a blog post. That is common practice now. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing any important tips. Anybody watching live or on the replay, if you have any questions about this topic, I'll be happy to go back and unpack on other days of my 365-day live stream orbit. So make sure when you're doing new content and you are optimizing for search as you're creating the script that will go into, say, if you're me, your YouTube video, your teleprompter app on your cell phone, so that you can record the MP4 or video and audio packet content to upload to YouTube. Make sure that you're saying the keyword phrase in that video, because when you pull out the MP3 or the audio only to use in your podcast, which is MP3 or audio only, one thing that Google is now really doing with podcast SEO is it can hear what you're saying too. So it wants to hear you say the keyword that you're optimizing your YouTube video for. And then, of course, now what we're talking about in this video, your podcast episode itself. They want to hear that keyword. That will help it rank. That will get it weighted. Of course, you also would like to get that podcast episode, shown or, available on Google Podcasts. Of course, no duh, with Google Podcast SEO, why not get it on there? And a multiple posting service like Libsyn will be able to do that for you. Social media is often very much directly linked to SEO, and with podcasts, that's definitely the deal. Okay, so trying to see if there's any other tips in my notes that I would want. I'm not going to recommend one MP4 to MP3 converter over another. I've used a few. I don't think it's that hard to do. Let me just make sure we're not missing anything else. I've just introduced this concept. We'll go back and unpack, but we're going to start talking about content planning tomorrow. So I want to make sure that you tune in tomorrow. When you get your notification, make sure you turn this on, or at least make sure that you're visiting this channel every single day for the latest replay that will definitely be posted after I'm done going live. All right, so I think I've hit all the high notes in my notes. So hopefully you realize now that now more than ever, it's important to have a podcast. A lot of the folks that were early to the table on putting out podcast shows and podcast episodes could have afforded back then to be quirky or ironic or, cryptic with the titles of their various podcast episodes or shows. No longer, because you can actually beat out bigger, older, longer podcasts if you're better about optimizing for that big keyword that you want, and optimizing your show properly above and below the hood so that you can harness the power of podcast SEO for your, home-based business, entrepreneur moms and dads. And so hopefully you will launch a podcast so that you can be part of the wild, wild west and the big window of opportunity that's only just recently, in time to me recording this live, come available to you. So tomorrow we will talk about content planning, because the more channels you have to go on to be omni-channel, the more important it is that you plan properly so that you don't get overwhelmed on top of the house, spouse, kid, worship, pets, plants, business of your life. Let's make sure that this isn't just one thing additional on your to-do list. It is something that very easily will get on your to-done list. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.